Hello, my name is David Cooperrider. I'm author of a book series called Advances in Appreciative Inquiry, and I'm coming to you and speaking to you about a project that I think has the potential to impact billions of lives. I feel like it's a project that could be the most important thing I've ever personally worked on in my entire career. And I want to end with an invitation to you all to participate, to help us really think through how to make this a huge success. A couple years ago, I was doing some work with Marty Seligman. Marty Seligman is considered the father of the positive. He's the father of the positive psychology field, and it's created a revolution in our understanding of the human being. And he and I were in Australia. We did about 10 speeches together. And he was talking about all the transformative research on, as we move from a psychology of human deficit and deficiency, where, at that time, 44,000 journal articles in psychology, 98% of them were on what's wrong with the human being. And he, as you know, is calling for a revolution, a positive psychology of human strengths. Can we study characteristics of the good life and what it means not just to deal with depression, but how to cultivate flourishing? So he was sharing in his lecture a lot of the great work on learned optimism and PERMA, the formula for flourishing, where we're studying what characteristics are there in the good life, like positive emotion, engagement of our signature strengths. R stands for relationships of high quality. M stands for meaning, and A stands for accomplishment. And he's bringing together the whole field of studying thriving and flourishing. And I'm doing the similar thing, but on the organization and institution side. So I'm sharing stories of our appreciative inquiry work, where we work from this kind of psychology of human strengths and the strength-based perspective, but we work with large-scale systems. I was sharing, for example, some of our Appreciative Inquiry Summit methodology projects with whole, huge, major change systems, like with Apple, looking at the whole supply chain around the world. With Kofi Annan in the lower center here. Kofi Annan called and wanted to use Appreciative Inquiry Summit methodology to change world summits. And pictured on the lower left, Bob Stiller and Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, how they grew from $150 million in sales to become a $20 billion company through the use of these strength-based positive psychology and human strength approaches. And then I shared stories of our work with His Holiness the Dalai Lama around the world, bringing groups from different religions together to end religious violence and create cultures of peace and justice. And after one of those evening sessions, Marty and I talked again, and he brought me to some schools to show me what's happening in schools that are adopting what we might call positive education, where if you can envision a double helix, where there's, obviously great work on the academics and the skills for careers and life and so on, but also there is great attention to well-being, the well-being of the student, developing life skills for flourishing and optimism and grit and growth mindset and so on. And so we started talking about how the positive psychology field has just grown so rapidly, and it's prime time now to take it further. And he showed me some schools where this is working, and lo and behold, the research shows as human flourishing and well-being scores go up, so does math, reading, and writing. And so what if we started talking about, and Marty's question to me was, we know a lot about bringing this into the classroom and how profound it can be in changing lives. And there's so many tools and approaches and methods and solid research done. But how do we move whole school systems? Maybe we should create a partnership and use the Appreciative Inquiry Summit methodology to help schools all over the world who want to accelerate positive education. So we started dreaming about a large-scale summit. And Marty connected us with International Positive Education Network. And when I say us, I'm talking about Champlain College's Cooperrider Center for Appreciative Inquiry. and with discussions with Lindsay Godwin and Emily Larson and Sir Anthony Selden and Leah Waters from Australia and James Powalski, Barbara Fredrickson, Kim Cameron at University of Michigan, Ronald Fry at Case Western Reserve University, where we teach appreciative inquiry, we started dreaming about what it would mean to create a world summit on accelerating positive education. And as we talked about that, guess what happened? A major gift appears at Champlain College. $1 million gift came forward to help launch the first in a series of worldwide summits to advance and accelerate everything we know about the positive psychology of human strengths and flourishing, along with academics. And a world summit is given birth. And so, the idea of a world summit, and as I mentioned to you, I think this might be the most important piece of work that I've ever been part of, because I know the long-term impact that an appreciative inquiry summit can have. In this case, there's 2 billion children in our schools. Imagine if all of them had access to, emotional intelligence and the positive psychology of human strengths, where every child can peer into a child's soul and lift up those signature strengths. So in terms of a definition, we're using a broad tent to kind of describe what positive education is about. It's obviously about great academics, but it's also, in a double helix sense, about great character strengths and well-being and teaching the skills of flourishing. But it's also about building positive institutions. How can teachers teach the positive psychology of human strengths and well-being if they're in institutions that are burdensome and low morale? So we're talking about the positive ecosystem of the family, the community, the world. Marty inspired me in a book that he wrote that summarizes the whole of the positive psychology field. And in one chapter he says, I want a revolution in the world of education. All young people need to learn workplace skills, yes. That's been the subject matter of educational systems for hundreds of years. But in addition, we can now teach the skills of well-being, of how to have more positive emotion, hope, inspiration, and joy, more meaning in life, more sense of life purpose beyond ourselves, better relationships, and more positive accomplishment. So what I want to invite you to is to consider coming to the World Positive Education Accelerator. It's a large-scale appreciative inquiry summit. We're going to have over 1,000 stakeholders, teachers, business leaders, students, foundations, all different parts of the system that care, superintendents, leadership, policymakers. Every part of the system of education will be there. We have a subtitle called Where Inspiration Meets Action. We have great speakers, but most of it is going to be roll up our sleeves and create collective action, set in motion a project that probably will go on for decades. So how can you engage? Here's some the website kind of URLs, but join us in this Dallas Convention Center, June 25th through 28th, 2018. Help us identify school systems that might be interested in this. Help us identify businesses that are already engaging in this strength-based positive psychology of human strengths, but now they want to share their learnings with schools. Maybe there's a celebrity or two that you know that has a special place in their heart for our kids and our kids' future. And I'm talking about a world where childhood depression is on a rampage, where suicide rates have risen, and we have the tools. We don't need all of that. We have the tools now. Public policy makers, thought leaders in education. And we also want to include foundation partners and philanthropists who care. The major gift that launched all of this was from Bob and Christine Stiller. They are the family foundation that they have. They've got such a place in their heart for how we've underestimated the role of the positive in education from early childhood, when brain formation is happening, all the way up through through college and university life and so on. The other way is you can join our digital platform. And if you do have thoughts and people that you would like to recommend, people that you think share our ideal of creating schools where human flourishing and academic excellence go together, then please email at this email. I look forward to a project that I think is the most important project potentially that I've ever worked on, and one that we believe can affect billions and billions of young people all throughout the world. Thank you.